cacti and succulent growers, it's Lynn and welcome to Desert Plants of Avalon in the north of Ireland. And in today's video I'll be showing you the products that I like to use to keep beasties off our beloved cacti. Now, by beasties, I'm talking about them annoying pests such as mealybugs and spider mites and other types of pests that you can get on your cacti and succulents. And what I normally do during the spring and summer months, I like to use neem oil mixed with horticultural soap that I will spray all of these plants completely at least once a month, and I find that really does help. Not to completely get rid of pests, but it really does help to keep down the spider mites and mealybugs on the plant. It keeps them under control. However, in the winter, when you've got cacti outdoors or you've got them here, such as I have in a polytunnel, then I don't like to use the neem because I find it stays a little bit wet on the plants for at least an hour or two because it's a liquid when you've mixed it up. Also, when you're spraying plants with the neem oil, because cacti have these grooves in them, then a lot of the liquid will drip down and go into the base of the plant, into the soil, and you don't want to have wet plants during the winter time, so I tend to avoid it. So what I do to keep on top of spider mites and mealybugs is I have these two little magic potions and lotions that I like to use. And the first one will be the rubbing alcohol, which is here. Now I use 100% rubbing alcohol, but you can use 70% rubbing alcohol as well, as long as it's over 50% rubbing alcohol, also known as isopropyl alcohol. And I get mine from Amazon, but you can even get them from the chemists. You can also use methylated spirits as well, or even pure vodka. Anything that's high in alcohol will help to kill mealybugs and spider mites on contact. And this, I put some into a spray bottle here, and I would just spray the plants, as you can see here, directly if I spot any mealybugs and spider mites, and this will kill them on contact. And the reason why I'm happy to spray with the rubbing alcohol in winter and not the neem is because rubbing alcohol dries very fast. This will literally be dry in 5 minutes, and it has a drying effect as well, so it's not going to add any moisture or humidity onto the cacti or into their roots or anything like that. And it kills pests on contact, which is what I like. And if I spot a few sort of mealybugs rubbing around, walking around, then I will put some of this into a little dish, and then I'll get a little brush like this, dab it on, and then I'll go around and I'll see if I can actually see. Thankfully I can't actually see any mealybugs at the moment. The plants seem to be doing pretty much okay this winter, but if I do see any, just an example, I will then say there, and I'll then directly touch it, the mealybug, and go around and rub any signs of any beasts that I can see off. And also make sure that you lift up pots as well. Do check underneath the pots, because this is where a lot of pests like to hide, and this killing them on contact with the rubbing alcohol it's also sort of a more humane method. I know people might say, oh, pests are horrible and that, but I don't really like to kill anything. I'm that type of person. But obviously the rubbing alcohol is a humane way of killing insect pests on contact, rather than a lot of these sprays that work slowly through the bug system. It's really not good, but that's just my opinion. And the next thing I like to do, and I like to do this quite regularly as well, and especially if I know a plant has signs of or has had signs of pests, is I like to use the diatomaceous earth. Now this is a little white powder, and it's absolutely brilliant for sprinkling not only on the plants but also on the tables as well, because this powder actually does, it sort of rips the bugs such as mealybugs and other types of pests. It can really affect them when they're traveling along on the plants and even between plant to plant and the trays. It's a good deterrent to keep bugs away. I personally don't find it as effective for things like spider mites. I've used powder when I've noticed spider mites, the diatomaceous earth, and it's not, in my opinion, been as effective. But if you use the rubbing alcohol first and then use the powder after, it seems to work quite well in that way. I would use one of these little brushes, a tiny little bit on there, a little bit of powder, and then I would just literally then go over the plants and just tap like this, tap on them, and then literally you just brush it. And I don't really worry how messy it looks, because once you start up with watering and that and spraying, it goes anyway. And it doesn't hurt if you go. In fact, if it goes into the soil as well, it's actually good, because you can use diatomaceous earth to mix into the cactus soil when you're repotting, because the diatomaceous earth is very effective against root mealybugs as well as a prevention. And then with the powder as well, I'll even go sort of all around the tables and just gently pat a little bit of the powder on. You don't want to go too heavy with it. Just a slight bit of powder on there is a good deterrent against spider mites, mealybugs and other types of pests. So that's what I like to do. I like to come in here and just check and regularly treat, and that's my two little methods for keeping an eye out for beasties during the winter months. Now, as well as the rubbing alcohol and the diatomaceous earth, I also like to use, for checking for pests, one of these little loupes. And these are little magnifying loupes. You can also use a strong magnifying glass as well, because unless you've got an extremely good pair of eyes, even if you have the best eyesight ever, a lot of insect pests, particularly spider mites, are practically impossible to see with a human eye. But with these loupes, you can go over the plants, go close up and check, and it will show, sort of magnify any beasts, and particularly good for cacti that are very tightly spined as well, because you can sort of go close in and look in between all of the little tight-knit spines for any signs of mealybug nests. And these little loupes, they're easy to get sort of online, Amazon and places like that, or if you have a very good magnifying glass as well. I think these are a must, because I come in here and the eye doesn't always see what beasties are hiding, but these magnifying loupes are just great to zoom up, going over the cactus and showing you any signs of pests that are hiding. And as I say, it's very important to, when you are checking, is to lift up pots. It'd take me forever if I was to go through all the time to lift every single pot up on here, but I do randomly just pick up pots just every now and then and just check that there's no pests hiding underneath, because this is where beasts really love to hide. And the winter time, it's not like in my experience anyway, pests do like to slow down in the winter time because of the cooler temperatures, and pests are a little bit like the cacti. They really come alive during the spring and summer months, particularly during hot weather, where they will multiply fast. But even in the winter, when all is dormant and the days are short and still cold, pests will still multiply on your plants, just not at a fast speed as they would do in the summer months. But yep, it's really important that you do go in regularly and check your plants. And if you have plants indoors as well, it's as I say, I would use the neem oil in the winter time on my indoor cacti, because it dries very fast, but not in the polytunnel where the temperature is cool in here. And another tip I like to do, and this maybe not help pests as such, but I like to open up the door on very sort of mild days, like a mild winter's day like today in February, because although it necessarily isn't going to stop pests, ventilation is really important, because not only does it help to prevent mold and fungus issues on your cacti if you have good ventilation, but also it can also deter pests as well. Pests spider mites. Spider mites tend to like the dry air more so, but mealybugs aren't fussy, and in very humid conditions, even in winter, in this polytunnel, when the sun comes out, it gets very warm in here, and that can also encourage mealybugs to spread during the winter months. So having a bit of ventilation, obviously it's not possible on very cold days, but when you can, do open windows and doors on sort of mild winter days, if it's not too windy of course, because a bit of ventilation also helps to prevent the spreading of bugs. So thanks so much for watching everybody, and do check out all of the other videos I have here on my YouTube channel for lots of tips and tricks on how you can grow for your cacti and succulents. If you haven't done already, please do subscribe and do click the notification bell. I want to wish you all an amazing cactus powered day. Woo, beasts be gone.